another Walk-In Wednesday. Actually, today, this gun we're going to talk about, the Johnson rifle, did not walk in. I actually went and picked it up yesterday. Drove about an hour away, picked it up from a local collection. I've been trying to get my hands on a Johnson. Okay, let me pause for a minute and just say, we are more mature and more professional than most junior hires because we're not going to do any Johnson jokes today. At least I'm going to try not to do any Johnson jokes. But this really is a Johnson rifle. It's in semi-automatic, and they actually did make some in automatic. These are very sought after by collectors, which is why I went to pick this one up. I saw it was for sale. I just had to go get my hands on this Johnson. But you're gonna do this. Okay, as I promised, we're not gonna do any cheap, immature jokes, but this Johnson rifle. I'm gonna cry. Alright, as I promised, I'm not going to do any cheap, immature, junior high jokes. But this is the Johnson rifle, actually developed by Melvin Johnson, late 30s, early 40s. Here's one of the reasons many of you have never heard of this rifle. It's because he developed this right at the time when the Army had already started testing the M1 Garand. The M1 Garand actually took over production, and once they got all ramped up and ready to produce the M1, then the Johnson rifle was just kind of set aside. There's a couple interesting pieces of information about the Johnson rifle. First of all, it's probably a little bit of an improvement over the Garand. It's a 12-round rotary clip. It's a new and revolutionary design at the time. By the way, this is called the model 1941 because it was made in 1941. Has a rotary clip and it uses a stripper clip. You get 12 rounds in there. If you know the M1 Garand, it only holds 8 rounds. So it's an improvement in that way, but also, let's say you're in a street fight and you do 2 rounds, and then you stop for a while and go someplace else. You can actually recharge it, fully recharge it. In other words, add 2 more rounds. Where the Garand, I didn't realize this, but you have to shoot the whole clip before you can put in another clip. So you have to do all 8, and then you can do 8 more. These, you can halfway through, you can go ahead and reload it. So there's some advantages there. Also, it has an interesting, unique feature. It has a recoil in the barrel. You can see the recoil. That helps with the kick. Although people who have shot this, I never have. There's some videos on YouTube showing people shooting these. They tell me this thing kicks like a mule. Uses a 30-06 round, but so does the M1 Garand, and people tell me that shoots like a mule too. This is the bayonet that just hooks on the top. It's small but very effective. One of the reasons it's so small, it helps with the balance. They didn't want the front end to be too heavy. And this is the original sheath. So this all came together as a grouping. Now let's do some comparisons. Okay, here's a comparison of the 1941 Johnson rifle and the M1 Garand about 1941 as well. They started making these in 1937, so Mr. Melvin Johnson was a little bit late. He was about 2 years late. Like I said, they had already tested this and was ready to go to production, and they didn't want to stop that process and adopt this. So they only made 30,000 of the Johnson rifles. He didn't get a military contract. He was very disappointed. His side of the story is there's a lot of politics involved, and he got pushed aside. Springfield Armory came out with this, and they made almost 6 million of these and only 30,000 of these. Now these are very popular with collectors because of the low numbers, but also when they made the 30,000, it was for a Dutch contract. The Dutch West Indies was, Japan was in the area, and they were afraid they're going to be under attack, so they ordered 30,000 of these. Only a few went to the West Indies, and then it was taken over by the Japanese, so they never completed the contract. Therefore, where did these go? Most of the 30,000, actually about 20,000, went to the U.S. Marines, and and the Marine paratroopers. So you can see why this would be a desirable weapon for collectors, because low production, but also where they went. As a matter of fact, there is a Congressional Medal of Honor recipient. I have his picture here. His name is Robert Dunlap. He was a lieutenant at the time, later became a captain, but he earned the Congressional Medal of Honor at Iwo Jima, 1945. And there is a statue of him holding the Johnson rifle in their town. He actually was allowed to take his rifle home. They said he hung it on the wall, and now it's in a museum in his hometown. The serial number was A0009. So the Johnson rifle was used by a Medal of Honor winner. The Garand, we've talked about. That's one more rifle was used by the United States Forces. I said one more rifle, but actually there were several. Of course, there was the 1903 Springfield and also some submachine guns. But the major rifles, this one, of course, everybody knows, or everybody who collects knows about the M1 carbine. Again, millions of them made. This truly was an improvement over both. The reason being, the Johnson rifle is about 10 pounds. The Garand is about 10 pounds. This is between 5 and 6 pounds, so a big difference versus this. If I were trudging all over Europe or the islands 20 miles a day, I'd much rather be carrying this. Also, this has a magazine clip that holds 15 rounds, half the weight of the Garand, double the firing capacity. Very, very easy to use. M1 carbine, very popular with collectors as well. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way we can be sure to bring you more of these collectible guns. And also visit our website on legacy-collectibles.com. We also have a gun broker page where we do $1 auctions, and there's liable to be some bargains there, so you want to jump on board. I'm proud of my Johnson.